Welcome. Hello. Welcome to the Wyoming NORML podcast, Meet the Candidates interview series. I'm your host, Annette Smith. Today I have the privilege of actually sitting down with a couple of Wyoming's legislative candidates. One is running in our 2026 primaries taking place on August 18th, and another headed to the general election on November 3rd. Today's candidates bring their extensive backgrounds and various relevant experiences and fields to this campaign. We'll discuss cannabis policy, opinions, views during our time together here this evening. Thank you. I'll introduce our first guest, Mr. Jimmy Skovard, representative running for U.S. Senator. Welcome to the show and thank you for joining me.
Why, thank you. And thanks for having me on.
Yes, you're welcome. And next, we also have our next guest, Rah Reinholz, running for House District 17. Welcome to the show and thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, we have both of you here with us tonight, and we're going to start with our first question. I'm going to ask you both the question, and then I'll give you both a chance to answer. We'll start with Jimmy first, and then we'll go to Rah. But first, why don't you both tell us just a little bit about yourselves? Jimmy, would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jimmy Skovard. I grew up in the Bighorn Basin, went to the University of Wyoming, joined the Wyoming Army National Guard, fired up worked for an environmental consulting firm as a data analyst and water technician, environmental scientist for about 10 years, and then started my own small business, which ended up in Casper, Wyoming. And so that's where I'm at now, retired. So.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. And you're a Wyomingite.
Yeah. Yep. All through and through. I kind of consider myself Wyoming. That's it. Yeah. I'm Wyoming.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you, Jimmy. And then we have Rah. Rah is also Wyomingite. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Rah Reinholz. I'm born and raised Wyomingite. I was born in Rock Springs, but raised in Uinta County in a small town called Mountain View. I've worked a number of different jobs, but mostly blue-collar jobs, construction, masonry, and now I find myself in janitorial maintenance. I've been involved in the political system since I was 16. I started working as an election judge, and I've served as a Democratic delegate multiple times for Sweetwater County, and decided that better now than never to find somebody to represent myself. Nobody's ran, so I decided I was going to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. That's so neat. And it's so neat that you were able to get so involved when you were such a young age. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and get started with our questions. Are you both ready?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I think the residents of Wyoming are ready to hear your answers as well. All right. Jimmy, we'll start with you first. The question is, would you support a conservative medical cannabis law? And for those that aren't familiar with the conservative medical cannabis law, that is typically something that includes stringent regulations and restrictions designed to ensure legitimate medical use while minimizing potential abuse or unintended consequences.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the medical cannabis is, pretty widespread now. So I think maybe Wyoming's a little bit behind the eight ball there. And, being that we're a conservative nation, or a state, actually, we kind of tend to go slow on things. We accept change slowly. So it's best to always kind of get a gauge of of your constituency on these type of things. I've ran into several younger folks, basically, that want to see more than just medical marijuana legalized.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Thank you for your answer. And Rah, we'll move to you.
Yeah, I would absolutely support a conservative medical cannabis. I think that it would be something that would not only bring revenue into the state, not a lot, as much as recreational could, but it would help expand the freedom of Wyomingites, not only like their choices when it comes to medical care, but also their ability to kind of choose that medical care. I know here we already have like a very small amount of choice when it comes to medicine, so it'd be nice to see something like that expanded.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your answers as well. Those are both great. Great. You guys both covered some really important aspects there when it comes to cannabis, medical cannabis in the law. Or sorry, we'll move to the next question. Would you support decriminalizing the adult personal possession, use, and cultivation of cannabis?
So
Jimmy, I'll start with you.
on that issue there, you know, I see the office of the U.S. Senator more as a forum for a conversation in Wyoming, and as we go through these issues, these things come to they surface as we talk about them. And so I'm encouraging folks to get involved in this type of process, because this is important to a lot of the younger folks that are in, and some of the older folks. So I've talked to folks that have used medical marijuana in lieu of other drugs that actually they indicate to me, at least I'm not a doctor, but they indicate that they help them. So I think the conversation is something that we do need to have, and as your next U.S. Senator, that would be something that I would facilitate with the state, with, you know, all the way down to the precinct level. We can aggregate our voices now with this modern technology, and I don't see why we're not doing it. We're not doing it because we don't have the will to do it. And these are the type of questions that folks need to be asking, and we need to be as representatives and senators for the folks that we represent. We need to be presenting these questions and getting that feedback.
Excellent point, Jimmy. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Those are some excellent points. Rah, would you like to answer?
Yeah, I would absolutely support decriminalizing adult use and adult cultivation. I think that it's one of those things that's a personal autonomy question. If you're an adult and you're choosing what you want to do and what you want to put in your body, it's one of those things that maybe you after work don't want to relax with a Bud Light, but want to relax with some bud. And if you're an adult in your own home and you're choosing to do that, you should have the freedom to do that. I think it would free up law enforcement that usually have to go after people using cannabis, to go after worse criminals that are doing other things, kind of free up some resources there. And I think the framework for doing so wouldn't be just we're decriminalizing it and now you can have cannabis everywhere. It's you're using it privately, personally in your own home. You're not selling it. You're not getting minors involved. And I don't see why in a state where we value freedom so much and the personal individual lives that it hasn't gone to there. I know that we've tried to pass things before in legislation, and we've tried to have ballot initiatives to do so, and they have failed. But as Jimmy said, we are a conservative state. We tend to do things slowly, but we've seen a lot of surrounding states do that. Montana has recreational medical cannabis. Utah has medical. Colorado being one of the first states to pass it. We've kind of see what works for them and what doesn't. And now as Wyomingites, we can choose to do it the way that we see fit, with other people's mistakes at the forefront for us to make sure we don't make the same ones going into our legislative powers.
Thank you. Thank you for your answers, Rah. You both have some excellent points, and it does sound like you are listening to the people of Wyoming with both of your answers. Excellent points there. All right, if you're ready, we will go on to question 3. Do you support expunging or sealing past criminal records for people convicted or of conduct that is no longer illegal or has since been decriminalized? Jimmy?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, you know, I've ran into at least 5 people during my campaign. And my campaign's been going on for more than a year, but I've run into about 5 people that have had different types of felony convictions, and some of them multiple felony convictions, and they're blocked from participating in our process. Some after multi-decades have passed. So in the process now, I understand it goes through the Bureau of Prisons, and then there's a kind of a roundabout way that they end up on the governor's desk for the final expungement. And I think the process may be a little bit I don't know what the right word is. It's kind of onerous for the folks that are going through this. And, if they've, especially for misdemeanor, well, then they're not misdemeanor crimes, but they're felony drug possession crimes that have maybe we overreacted to in the past, that we should take another look at. So yes, we need to look at bringing those folks back into the fold and allowing them to participate, because a lot of them really feel like they need to participate now, and they want to get back involved in our society. And so there should be a mechanism and a way for them to do that. That should be fairly clearly spelled out, and the rules, available for them to follow.
Mm-hmm. Excellent points. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for your answer. And Rah, we'll move to you.
Yeah, I would agree to expungement or sealment. I would go more for the expungement changes. We've seen other states like California and Arizona, just as soon as it's signed, they have a system where they go through and they expunge all those things. I would like to see something closer to states like Maine, where they have a filing system. So if you have one of those charges, you can submit a claim and get it expunged that way. And that helps with data fragmentation. So while it might be expunged in Wyoming, it's still going to show up as a federal charge and things like that. So by having them file and having a court record of them getting that expunged, it kind of fills in those gaps. So if in the future something comes up, they can have legal paperwork to say that it's no longer a charge that's on their record. I feel like it's one of those things where Wyoming has the laws where if they pass a law, they can't charge you in hindsight for something that's now illegal. I think it would be nice, as if things become legalized, we can look at our past and admit our mistakes as a state, that maybe we were too restrictive or overreactive, and allow those people who have been cast out to rejoin the fold. As Jimmy said, there's lots of people who, for having very small amounts of marijuana, have gotten charges that keep them from participating in not only the election system, but in getting better jobs, certain loans. And it's a shame that this plant, that if you cross these imaginary lines into different states and it's perfectly legal, and then you come to Wyoming and end up with a charge, can dramatically impact your quality of life and your ability for upward movement.
Mm-hmm. So correct. Thank you so much for that answer. Rah, you touched on some very important aspects of that as well when it comes to the expungement and decriminalizing. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We will move to the next question. If cannabis were legalized, how would you prioritize the use of any tax revenue? Jimmy?
That would probably end up in the venue of the state. I don't see this being a federal type of an issue. So yeah, I would, I have I have good faith in our state's ability to manage the revenue that's coming into the state. So general fund would be fine. The permanent mineral trust fund would be fine. Any way that the state would like to use it, even the revenue going to the local counties and cities would be fine with me. I mean, that's, like I said, we need to start that discussion, and if that's the path that Wyoming chooses to go, we need, as a U.S. Senator, I'll certainly be happy to sit at the table and bring the folks together to discuss the options that are right there in front of us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jimmy. Rah?
I would like to see like an earmarked amount of percentage of the tax go towards education first. A lot of the times with states that legalize marijuana, they see a very steep increase in tax revenue, followed by a plateau and even a decrease. So when I talk about putting it into education, it wouldn't be towards like reoccurring things like salaries, but it would be more towards like larger infrastructure things in education, like getting more pre-K programs, because pre-K programs are shown to save money later in the education timeline, getting rural schools up to date with more broadband internet, and updating some of the buildings we have here in Wyoming. And then secondly, any other percentage I would like to see kind of go towards the mental health and substance abuse funds. I think a lot of drug use that happens in Wyoming is people self-medicating. And just because we legalize cannabis doesn't mean that substance abuse goes away. It's still going to be an issue. And by investing in mental health as well, we might be able to address some of our other issues that we have, like our high suicide rate. So I would like to see a percentage go to each of those two issues, and then the rest kind of being used as a buffer for our more volatile resources. When we have our minerals, we do see a lot of boom and bust, as everybody in Wyoming knows. So having that kind of buffer excess revenue being there on years where we're busting a little more than we're booming, it would be nice for legislator to be able to know that we're not going to have to cut back all of our spending because we have this buffer that allows us to still fund programs without worrying that we're going to run out of money.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. It sounds like both of you are hearing the people of Wyoming at the federal level and at the state level, representing the people. And that was both of you guys answered so well on that. We'll move to the next question. If elected, would cannabis policy reform be one of your legislative priorities?
I think on this type of an issue, this is more of a state issue for me. So once again, I'm going to go back to that aggregating the voice of the people and putting the tools out there that the state can use statewide, so that you can surface your ideas to your local representatives. This is going to be something that's solved on the state level through the state house and the state senate. So getting the conversation started, that's where I think my strengths are going to be for Wyoming and for this issue.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jimmy. Getting the conversation started. Rah?
Absolutely. I put it in my literature that I'm pro cannabis legalization. We, as a state, do tend to lag behind others when it comes to progress. And I think that's one of the reasons that we see a mass exodus in our younger folks. I know people that have moved to Utah so that they could access medical cannabis. And I know people that have moved to Colorado and Montana even recently so that they could access recreational. And I think it's one of those things that as my generation, Gen Z, stop using alcohol so much that they're looking for another form of substance to relax at the end of the day. And I really do see it as a personal choice and a personal freedom thing. I don't like the way that it is super criminalized and demonized in modern Wyoming right now when we see it in other states. I know that there was a recent arrest of a person in a nursing home in Powell for using cannabis. And it's one of those things that I would love to introduce legislation to get a medical legalized in the state. And we don't have great framework for that, obviously, because we don't have any. So it wouldn't be immediate, but decriminalization would go into effect, hopefully, when passed legislation on day one. And then it takes about 18 to 24 months to build that economic infrastructure to be able to do the licensing and the fees and allow for sales to start moving forward. But the sooner we get on it, the sooner we will be able to see not only the benefits of tax revenue, but the benefits in community, as it's shown that when we legalize cannabis, hard drug use goes down. And so do arrests, because they're not being arrested for having a plant.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rah. You both have covered so many aspects of, I think, the questions that people have when it comes to cannabis and regulation and where things are at. And it is really important to get those conversations started, especially like you were saying, Jimmy, at that local level, the state level, and in being able to have Wyoming come together to be able to bring this to the state.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We can have this conversation, and we can direct the folks that are working with us to enact our will. And in the interim, if that will doesn't get enacted, then we can keep that in mind as we go to the polls on the next election cycle.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for mentioning that, Jimmy. And we have up your website here. And for people that want to learn more about Jimmy and his service to Wyoming and his and where he is at, you can go to his website. And I can't. Could you read off the website for me, there, Jimmy?
Sure. It's Skovard, Skov like Victor, GARD 2026.org. So it's Skovard 2026.org, and of course my name has a silent V in it. You just got to work that in there. You can also search me up on Google. I've got SEO, search engine optimization up and running for my website. I've got several different pages there. You can look at my campaign finance there. You can look at links to CivTech, which we're going to do here shortly, I think. And and I've got numerous monologues that I do, and I of course have a Substack page there on our link on my page where I have been posting one podcast per day. They're audio podcasts, and like this one right here that you just scrolled up, that's one that I did today, and it talks about the issues facing the Peabody coal miners that have just recently lost their health insurance and health care, as they age, which seems blatantly unfair. They were promised something and delivered something entirely different. But that's the nature of our business, posture in the nation right now. We just seem to want to take care of our financial situation, our pocketbooks, before we take care of the people that got us in the position that we enjoy. I find that kind of shocking a little bit.
Yeah, it is. We need to take care of the people, right? I mean, the people is what makes up the state.
That is the truth. Without the people, we have literally nothing.
Yes, so true, so true. Do you want to tell us more about your survey that you have available?
Yeah, the surveys that I've done, and there are numerous surveys. I think it takes me about 20 to 30 minutes using modern AI tools to generate one of these surveys. Now I've got the process down to kind of an art form. And the survey that you're looking at here is this the marijuana survey? So yeah, the marijuana policy, I was asked a couple of times by younger folks, younger Wyomingites, and they had, stressed the importance of this issue to them. And I'm like, well, why don't we find out where Wyoming sits on this? And the idea behind these surveys is to aggregate your voice all the way down to the your precinct level. You can weigh in and look at how your response is within your neighbors. You might have a precinct of four precinct or 2 precinct men and 2 precinct women and 1,000 people in your neighborhood. Like I would be in Mills, and so if I wanted to find out where I sat on this, I would complete the survey. And once we get enough responses, then we aggregate those surveys, and you can go from precinct to ward to county to a House district to Senate district and all the way up to the state, and see where you're falling in on this. And the idea is, if this is an issue that's important to you, then go talk to your neighbor and have them complete the survey. Sit down and have a survey party and visit with each other about how you would like to see this done. This is the type of representation that we have available to us. The technology that we have today is amazing, and we are using it. We're seeing it used to keep us divided, to build these media bubbles and these silos, or whatever they want to call them. And it's algorithms pumping misinformation into our feeds. Well, we can use them to share our viewpoints also, and to have the ability to aggregate these by of course, in my surveys, I'm like, well, if you're going to participate, you need to be a registered voter. So that's one of the things I would highly recommend folks to do right away, is get yourself registered to vote and take up that responsibility as a citizen that we have in this great nation. The responsibility to be civically active and to take part in the future for yourself, not just yourself, but your posterity. That's all those names that follow on after you.
Yes, so true, so true. Thank you so much, Jimmy. And you have definitely done your homework for sure on this. It's just wonderful, because you're right. It's something to be able to sit and discuss with your friend, your neighbor, your family members, share away, and let your voices really be heard through it.
Right. And so, if you go on to this survey, the site is scaffolded up at grassrootsmvt.org. I consider this a scaffold site. It's not really binding on anyone. And, people are always kind of questioning technology, but I'm like, well, this is just what's possible. We can make this as secure and as safe as we want it to be, this technology. So, you can go through, there's, breaks it down into several questions, and these are just questions that I came up with on my own. So, there's nothing scientific about it. So, it's just the idea is that it's there. This is what we can do with this. So we can take this and run with it.
This is it's awesome. I mean, really, it is. The whole thing is just amazing altogether. And you're right. Let's use social media for positive, right? Let's bring us all together.
Right. Bring us together instead of dividing us. The division and the nonsense that I hear, you get the labeling, that's kind of calmed down a little bit over the past 6 months. The labeling has dropped off a little bit, but it still exists. I still see some of it, and every now and then I weigh in. When I see a label being used, I like to weigh in and say, what don't you want to think about? Because that's human nature, to label something that we don't want to think about. Mm-hmm. And so, let's stop. And when we see something divisive that's dividing us as neighbors, as citizens, as people, as Wyomingites or as Americans, we see this division going on all the time. When we see those messages, we need to look at them and say, is this message designed to build something, tear something down, or divide something, or bring something together? And if we start looking at messages that are designed solely to divide and to tear things down, we need to stop. We have got to stop and allow our brains to engage. Take that 6 seconds of consideration and then think about that message and whether or not we want to receive that message. We have the tools now. Basically, I call it train your algorithm. You find a message that's divisive, you find a message that is coming from somewhere that you have no idea who the author is, and it seems to be designed to divide you, just hit that little X. If you're on Facebook, there's different ways to do it on Twitter, and I'm not sure about all the rest of them, but I know on Facebook for sure you can hit that X and block that sender, and just if it takes you to the page that says why, you just say, well, I just don't like that, and you don't see that anymore. And you, literally within 2 to 3 weeks, you have trained your algorithm on Facebook so that you no longer get those and receive those messages, and you don't have to enter that kind of a state. So just end the division, end the nonsense, and let's come back together as a nation, as a state, as a district. Even you can go out and meet your neighbors. Maybe through these type of tools, you can see just exactly who's participating and who's not. That's how they're designed, and it's all anonymous. You don't put your name down on a survey or anything like that. You do put your name down when you register, because we have to make sure that if you're weighing in your precinct, you have to be you, right? Mm-hmm. So we have the tools to do that. The state allows us to use the registered voter files that you when you provide your name to your county clerk to register to vote. Those names are provided to candidates like myself, and I can use those to check your name and your address. I don't have to keep track of anything, and I don't. I just keep track. This whole system just issues a token to you, and when you log in and out, it just changes your token. Just stays. It brings you back to the survey that you've already participated in. And so these are dynamic surveys. They're not just one-time things, but they can be used to once say there was legislation on legalization of marijuana, and you wanted to. You saw how the surveys came out, and it overwhelmingly, say it was overwhelming in support, and your representative then voted against that. These could be used as a tool for accountability. So we could take a snapshot at the time that the legislature votes, and then provide that information back to our legislature when it comes time for re-election. You can say, well, you didn't pay attention to what your constituency wanted, and so if we get enough of that type of feedback, we have more transparency and more accountability in our legislative process.
That's incredible. That is just it's an incredible tool. Really, truly it is. Thank you. And thanks for putting that together. Thanks for representing the people. And it's nice too that that you're not going to have to worry about your information being tracked, because that is something that I think that is important to people, that it's just for the registration purposes, and then that's it. Thank you.
These surveys can be audited, and it's all open source, so you can audit the code also. That's part of our system of representation. Now we can choose to be closed, or we can choose to be open. I choose to be open, and, show everybody how this works and how it's all put together, and allow it to be audited. The same tools that are used to build these things can be used to audit these things.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you for putting your time and effort into that for the people. And we'll move to Rah. Rah has a website as well that you can go and check out. It's Rah, so WYORAH.com. And Rah, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your information that they'll find there?
You'll get to see my website as you're scrolling through it. That kind of gives a brief overview of me and why I decided to run, and what some of my primary issues are when it comes to Wyoming, and what I think we need to kind of get our state back into a place where we can go and grow upwards. One of the biggest things that I address on there is our exodus of youth, and it's because they don't feel like they can build families or anything here, and kind of that ruralness has lost its charm and become more of a burden than it has become something that people look forward to when we're lacking infrastructures. I don't have a fancy survey, but that is really cool, and I might actually need to look into that. On my webpage, you can find out who your representatives are, what district you're in, where to register to vote, how to register to vote, an event, what I do them, I put them up there. So yeah, right now I'm doing a gun raffle. You'll see me at farmers markets selling that. I really have done a lot of research into this topic, because it is one thing that I've seen people email me about, which is the biggest thing, is that's how I've been communicating, is through like DMs and emails and talking to people in person, that when they look in my pamphlet, because I have these little pamphlets that I hand out, and it tells people that I'm pro cannabis, that they're like, yeah, you should do that. I don't know why we haven't done that yet. You should absolutely. We should have done this forever ago. And not only for the recreational purpose that will bring in tourism, but for that medical purpose. Like, I have MS, and in Utah, I qualify for a medical marijuana card, and it would be nice to have the freedom to choose whether I wanted to pursue all the pharmaceuticals I have to take, or if maybe marijuana could have been something that could have helped me instead. But that's not a freedom Wyomingites have. And going into these legislative sessions, we've seen time after time legislation get put up for legalization of marijuana, whether it's through the legislative house or if it's through a ballot initiative. So the Wyoming people have made themselves pretty clear that cannabis legalization is something that they care about, and I would like to work forwards towards that. I know that there's going to be federal issues when it comes to those things. It kind of creates a closed loop economy when you legalize marijuana in a state, and I'm hoping, just as President Trump did, he lowered this class scheduling of cannabis, that not only as a state can we move forward into a place where this plant can be used by adult citizens who choose to do so, but that federally we could eventually get there too. Yeah, if you'd like to get involved, I have a place where you can sign up to volunteer on there. We're working on getting our shirts. We're having a local shirt maker print those and stamp them out, and then we're going to start knocking on doors here soon. I've knocked on a few. The most unfortunate answer I get at doors, though, is that they don't vote, which is Wyoming has a very low voter turnout, and that makes me just really sad. We're a small state, and each one of our voices matter, especially the smaller your community. I've had friends that move away because they say they don't like the direction the state has took, and I tell them if they voted, they might not feel the need to move away because their voices aren't being heard. So I'm hoping that as I go forward and enter the legislative house, that I'm able to make more Wyomingites' voices heard that might have been in the shadows previously.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning all of that. And you both had mentioned the voters and getting people out there to vote. And Wyoming is such a small populated state, and it truly is. Every vote counts. Every vote counts in Wyoming, and we should be proud of that, right? We should be proud of what we're trying to uphold and what we're trying to do for the state. And so, yeah, if you haven't registered yet, please get out there and go register. We have both of these candidates that have shown you and told you that there's, different ways that you can do so. And they have the instructions on their websites if you want to go check that out.
Actually, just let me butt in here real rudely. I'll just jump right in. There's a candidates page on my website at candidates.skovard 2026. I don't know if you can show that one and real quick show folks how they can use candidates. I'll go to the menu right here, go to the hamburger, or go down to the third button that says my ballot. Or there it is. It's the third button over is my ballot, or just go to candidates on the menu. And so this is a tool, a web tool that surfaces your candidates all the way down to your precinct level, all the way across the state of Wyoming. So no matter where you're at, you can click that red box there that says "Find My Ballot," and it'll take you to a little place where you can enter your address. You enter your address only, and then it surfaces your ballot. It's just like a sample ballot that you would get at the county clerk's office, and it shows all the candidates that you can vote for. It's nonpartisan, so it'll surface both the Democrat and the Republican candidates for this primary cycle. And so you don't even have to go down to to find out who you can vote for before you go to vote. You can go there, and the cards that these candidates have often have their web page on there. If they provided a web page, if they provided an email address, a phone number, if they provided Ballotopedia information, if they wanted to link some other things there. So now you're looking at the page where we just include all the candidates, or is this your ballot? I couldn't tell. But you can see each of these cards has a candidate on them. And you can select one of those cards, any one of those cards for more information about that candidate. But the way you find them for you is to actually find my ballot. You click the Find My Ballot link and then go to put your address in. So,
wow, that is really handy.
Yeah, so that's a way to so you have the information that you need so you can make informed decisions as you go down to vote. You can go from this web page to a different web page, while you're researching each candidate. You could use Google, you can research them, you can go to their website, you can check their facts, you can fact check them using AI, you can do all kinds of stuff, right on at the comfort of your own home, sitting on your couch, basically.
Yeah,
Wow.
And Wyoming's one of the states that has it's very convenient to vote here. You can register same day at the polls, and you can request an absentee ballot for whatever reason, whether your poll place is too far away, you don't know if you'll make it, or you just want to get your ballot ahead of time to be able to look at it in person and fact check against that. His website is kind of the digital version of that. So it's very easy right now to vote in Wyoming. We've had a few changes when it comes to IDs at the polls, but as long as you get registered, it's not a whole day event. It's real quick.
Right. And on this page here, you can actually, when you go to your actual ballot, you can, there's a My Choice pill button. And when you find somebody that you want to vote for, you can start building your list of candidates that you want to vote for. So once you've completed your research, you don't have to remember who you picked. You just have a list that you can surface when you go to vote. You can bring it up on your cell, or you can email it to yourself, or you can print it out and take it with you to the polls.
Wow, that is impressive. That is impressive. You've made it very easy for Wyoming residents to be able to look into the candidates and to be able to figure out how they need to vote and get registered to vote. And yeah, that's just all encompassing. It really truly is.
And it'll even surface your polling location. If you wanted to go vote on the 18th, you enter your address and zip to the bottom of your candidates list and office list, and you'll see your polling location. Like mine just happens to be the Mills Town Hall in Casper, Wyoming here. But it changes, very based on your address. It's just your house number, your street name, and your city and zip code, and it'll surface the candidates. It does that using a statewide GIS map that I have, and the information from all 23 counties that I was able to gather. It took me about 2 days to build that using Claude Code and Chat GPT. I use both of those agents, and these things are amazing if we use them to bring ourselves together. I mean, this is the type of tools and information that we can utilize. If we use them to divide, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, true. Let's use them to be able to bring everybody back together, right?
That's exactly what I think that's the purpose. I actually one day I had a kind of a question I wanted to ask Chat GPT. I asked it. I said, "So Chat GPT, were you trained on the Bible?" And it responded back that that was a major piece of literature that it used in its large language model to learn, because it's open source. It's basically free to use, and so it learns culture. It learns how we interact with each other. And of course, I couldn't resist. I was like, well, what's the most repeated phrase in the Bible? Chat GPT. And what's the most repeated concept? And the most repeated concept in the Holy Bible is fear not. I thought it would be love your neighbor, but it's actually fear not. I'm like, if you think about what's going on today with the media and the bubbles and the algorithms, they're all designed to trigger fear within our minds, and we react as humans. That's what we are. You can see that, a document that with over 2,000 years of history sits there and waits for us to bring us back to the truth.
Yeah, so true. We just need to be able to, again, use those tools for the greater good, right? And bring us back together.
That is correct. So yes, fear not.
Thank you. Rah, would you like to add anything?
I have a big notebook about cannabis legalization, and if you ever have any more insightful questions about the way that things get legalized, the way taxes are used in other states, the different types of capped versus uncapped licensing, and the different ways that cannabis can be taxed for revenue, I have all that information available, and I do a lot of studying when I decided to run for House. It's one of those jobs that no one job prepares you for. It's a job that is about active listening and being willing to learn and being humble when you don't know what's going on, so that you can sit down and figure it out, so you can meet your constituents with the best answers. So I would love to I might need to make a podcast. I saw yours on your page about what my plan would be for cannabis and the framework around it. But I really do think that this is one of the issues that is we've seen so much support for it. Even in 2014, we had 72% support for medical cannabis. So I would love to see what the numbers are like now. I'm definitely going to go check out your poll, because it's one of those things that when all of our surrounding states have decided to legalize cannabis in one way or another, it becomes something where we're kind of in our own bubble here, and it definitely allows citizens to leave the state for that one thing for cannabis, because we're not the only pretty state with outdoor recreations, but we're one of the pretty states that doesn't have legalized cannabis.
Yeah, so true, so true. Thank you. You have definitely done your homework for sure, and there are even like medical clinical organizations, nationwide, that that medical cannabis is a thing, and people are being educated to be able to help prescribe or put forth the safe places for or the safe ways to be able to use that as a medication.
Yeah, I went to MS seminar, and people were talking about how they've been treating some of their shakiness, some of their MS symptoms with cannabis, usually low THC, high CBD, and high CBG, to help deal with some of the inflammation that occurs with MS. And I'm sure that it's not the only illness that benefits greatly from it. It's just the one that I know most about because I deal with it every day. And it's amazing how much we're still learning even today about how cannabis can positively affect your well-being when it comes to health.
So true, so true. And thank you for mentioning all of those the benefits of it and the certain compounds and how they work. So it's so true. Thank you. Thank you to you
Mhm.
both. Is there anything else you'd like to add, either one of you, before we sign off?
Yeah,
Thank
everybody, sorry about that. I jumped in over the top of you there. Go ahead.
Just thank you for having me and for giving me this opportunity to talk to constituents in another way, and for letting my voice get out there and be heard. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And Jimmy?
And thank you again. And everybody, when you go to vote, it's important. Your voice does matter, and it's an important part of our system of government. So August 18th is the definitive election in Wyoming. The Republican primary is typically the race that you get to elect your next leadership in on August 18th, not in November. Now, I know that doesn't sound great for our Democratic friends, but that is the truth in Wyoming. About 97% of the folks that were elected in Wyoming that went on to serve as your elected representatives were elected in the Republican primary in 2024. One example I'd like to share with everybody is House District 62 in serves Glen Rock and part of Casper. In the primary, there was Edith Allen and Kevin Campbell. Edith got about 758 votes, and Kevin Campbell got 764 votes, a difference of 6 votes. Kevin Campbell went to the primary and where he was unopposed. He went to the general from the primary where he was unopposed with a margin of 6 votes. In the general election, 3,554 voters picked Kevin Campbell. They had no other option. So
Exactly.
August 18th is your moment in Wyoming to vote, to make your choice heard. And if you're going to go vote, you might as well bring a friend. Bring a friend.
Get coffee afterwards. Make it a whole event. Yeah, and it's about 80% of our elections are decided in the primaries because we have a lot of people that are running uncontested. So while I'm not opposed in the primaries, I know that there is a Republican candidate that's running, and them and I will definitely be talking more as we get close to the general, because I'm one of the few elections that isn't decided in the primary. I'll be decided in the general, and I hope to rally up more support before then and be able to earn everybody's trust and talk about their issues and answer questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is all the time that we have for today. I'm grateful for your engagement and thoughtful responses during tonight's interview. And on behalf of Wyoming NORML, we wish you good luck and we thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.